Hi everyone, I thought I would do a page from Moon Valley. This obviously isn't an English edition, by Maria Trolle. I picked this page here. I looked through Universe, her compilation book, and picked a page that was also in there because I thought that would be easier. So if you've only got Universe, I can squash it a little bit. If you've only got Universe, it means that you can colour along as well. Now I picked a set of pencils that I don't often colour with at all in videos. I thought it might make a change. These are my Derwent Lightfast pencils, so it may be that you don't have these. I do have some comparison charts so you can find equivalent colours in other sets. The reason for choosing these was partly because I haven't used them for ages on a video, and I've been using them actually on pictures that I've been doing myself, and I've been really enjoying them. And also I thought, you know, I'd do something a little bit different, and it has tones for the colours that I want to do for her skin, which not all sets have. So there's a few different reasons. So I'm actually going to start with her face. Now I've had a little look at her face and body, and she doesn't look like she's wearing any clothes. I don't like that idea at all. So I'm going to sort of put in a sort of line here by this butterfly and colour this bit in as if she's wearing a sort of t-shirt. This is salmon. I will come in a lot closer actually so you can see just the face, because that's all we're going to be doing to start with. Oh, she's a bit squiff off the side. There we go, move her in. Here she is. So on here, the butterfly, can you see it goes right up to the edge? So I thought that would be a good mark, but on this side it doesn't. So I'm just going to sort of think about here, and that's where I'm going to end the skin. So I'm just going to colour a layer of this salmon that I did show you, probably couldn't see. I love these pencils. They don't have metallic on the name, so they don't reflect off my light when I show them to you. It's always good, isn't it? So we're just going to put this light salmon over all of the skin to start with. Now I figured I would do her sort of long sleeve top. It would be easier than trying to draw a line and determine where a t-shirt might come to or whatever. So I'm not pressing particularly hard at the moment, just a light layer, and we'll put in some darker colours later once we've sort of established our base as a foundation. I prefer to sort of do this with skin tone to get down a base layer first and then add to it afterwards. Helps me think a little bit about what I'm doing as well while I'm sort of just colouring in all the elements. Now with Maria Trolle's characters, they've never got, their nose doesn't mark right out. So she's only got this little bit, so it's up to us to pop that detail in. And I've done quite a few faces like this, so I'm used to having a little go. I haven't perfected it yet, but I've had a go and I've been happy with some of the things that I've been doing. So we'll give it a go this time. Now I'm looking for the dusky pink. Now this is a much darker colour, and I'm going to use this to mark out the areas that I want to be darker in the face and the neck. Would actually start under the chin, because there would be some shadow here, wouldn't there, where the chin is sort of casting a shadow, and along the side of the neck here, and just bring that in a little, so sort of fade it in. And there we've got the beginnings of a little bit of shape, hopefully. Now I will probably make my shadowing a lot darker using maybe not just pinks, but we'll see how we go for now. So here inside the ear, again that's going to be darker, so that's quite easy to just add a little bit in there. That's nice and straightforward. I can hear my son singing. Now here, that bit there's a little teardrop shape on most people's faces. There's a little indentation here, so we can mark that in, but also underneath the nostrils and the nose there's going to be a bit of shadow there. We can mark that in, and now we need to start thinking about the shape of the nose. What I tend to do is very gently go up like that towards the eye, on both sides. And I tend to make it a bit wider than I think it should be, so that I can then eyeball it and decide what to do. So I'm going to take it in, I think, like that. And this one in like that. So I can then colour in that bit as shadow. And so it doesn't matter that I was too wide to start with, because I was going to colour that in darker anyway. Like that. Now this one goes up to here. Like that. So sort of, we also want some shadow under the eye, so we can start to put some shape around there and above as well. So there's a sort of starting of some shape. Now we can bring this out. My son is singing some sort of opera. He does like it singing. Now, a lot of people, when they do a face, they do leave a piece between the black line of the edge and the darker shade, sort of white, and it sort of gives the impression that the light's just catching the very edge of the face. And sometimes if you do look at photographs or look at people, that can happen. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So basically leaving a tiny space between the black line and the mark you're making, like that, all the way down here. Okay, now the chin here is a little, if you think about the shape of chin, there's usually a round bit here which we can gently sketch on like that, and then put some shadow under the lips there, and then just draw that up with a bit of shading. So we're beginning to add more colour into the face and more shape, because the darker areas are going to be in more shadow. Now light tends to shine here on the top of the cheekbones, so what we can do is we can gently bring our colour up to here and sort of join it up there, so we've got this bit pale. So we can do the same here, just bring it in a little bit and up here to give a pale area here. Now some people like to do a pink cheek, but I find leaving the pale bit, I prefer to do it that way. Obviously it's up to you. Now the nose isn't going to be completely uncoloured, you know, it looks really pale here, but we will fiddle with that a little bit later. I'm going to put some darker colour along the hairline. Here we don't leave a gap, we put a bit of darker colour along to make it, although the hair is obviously all brushed right back, there'd still be a little bit of shadow, I feel, across here. And also it might just be a little bit darker on the edge compared to the middle, and that will just help to give that face more of a rounded look. Now I'm going to go back to our lighter colour to blend in, so this is our salmon, to blend in some of those darker colours. So starting on the neck, I'm going to go right across this bit quite hard, so excuse me, layering it quite a lot, and then less here, and then doing the same here. So we've got a lighter bit in the middle, so it hopefully makes the neck look like it's sort of this bit's further background, but we can add to that later as well. Now here, you see we've got this sort of chin bit, it's not very central, I'm not very good at getting it in the middle. Let's try and make it a bit more central. There we go. And then just bring it in a tad, because it's round, so it would be lightest right in the middle. And here we can just scumble around this area that we wanted to be lighter to sort of blend it all in a bit. We can do the same on this side. Now I know faces and, well, yeah, faces are quite tricky, and it takes a lot of confidence to have a go, and I'm not perfect at all by any stretch, but I just have a go, and that's what I'm hoping you might do. You might have a go. I sometimes find it easier to do a face, not my son is so loud. Sometimes I find it easier not to do the face in a realistic colour. So doing a face in a blue or a green can allow you to have the freedom to put in that shadow and think about where it should be darker and lighter without having to worry about actually getting the colour correct at the same time, because it's quite a tricky balancing act really. I'm going to put a bit on the edges of the nose here now. So yeah, it's not easy, but it can be quite fun once you get into the gist of it all. Right, I want to do some shadows. Now what I find is quite good with shadows on faces is to use a purpley colour. Now we have what's called wild lavender. By the way, just to let you know, which I probably should have done right at the beginning, my my Derwent Lightfast are, where it is, wild lavender, are is a 72 set, but I've got a few extras. Oh, excuse me, I've got hiccups. A few extras wild lavender, which I've sort of filled in. So I bought a few open stock as well to add to the collection. So I really want down here to look a bit more shadowy. So I put a bit of purple here and along here. So you can use grey, of course, but purple seems to give a softer tone. And I sort of prefer it really. But in here to really emphasise that edge there. Just bring it out gently. They're not symmetrical. It would be nice if they were. But hey ho. I'm not perfect. There we go. So that is getting more shade to it. We can put a little bit along here if we want to, and here, and in here. Now when I first started doing faces, I always whited out the edges, you know, the outline, because I thought they looked more realistic. I think they do. Anything without a white line does look more realistic, just because things in real don't have white lines. But it's a lot of work. So it's up to you whether you do that or not. Oh, my pencil nearly jammed in my sharpener. I'm going to go back to the dusky pink just to blend in some of that purple so it doesn't look too purple. Yeah, I put in purple and now I don't want it to look purple. Yeah, she's making lots of sense. So I'm just putting a little bit on top. So it just sort of blends it in a bit more. But actually, if you look at a face, it might not be completely symmetrical anyway. So there is that. I think I need to do her lips next, and then I can decide whether I think it's, and her irises, and then I'll decide whether I think it's ready. Now we have a bit of a challenge, not sure what word to use, with the Derwent Lightfast, in that the pinks are few and far between. The only pink I have is a heather, and it is not, I'll show you, that is not a lippy pink. So I think I'm going to have to go with my dusky pink, but I might add in a little bit of red, but I want just the smallest amount. I'm going to grab some Derwent red, okay, and I'm going to put a little tiny layer of red. Now I don't want her lips to look like she's wearing red lipstick. You absolutely could if that's what you're looking for, but it's not what I want. So I'm going to put that little bit there, and then I'm going to go over the top of it with the dusky pink and hope we get a slightly darker lip that doesn't look like it's got tons of lipstick on. Because I don't know about you, I feel, now what I'm doing here is I need to sharpen, is I'm trying to leave some of it a little bit paler. The lips are a bit small for doing what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm going around the edges of the lips a little bit more. I don't think it's really going to make much difference. I think I'm going to go with the whole thing. So you can see we've got more of a dark lip, but not really, really dark. So I quite like that actually. There we go. And what I do find with the Derwents is you've got a lot of pales and a lot of darks and a few in betweeny colours, but not loads. So I find the best way to work with them is to do a little bit of light, a little bit of dark together, and you can you have to make your mid-tones, so it makes it a little bit more, I don't know, I know what word I want to say, but no, just a bit different. Let's just use that word. Right, eyes. I really enjoy colouring eyes, but these are quite small, so we'll see. So I'm starting with a dark turquoise. It is quite a dark colour, hence the name. But what I'm going to do now, see, we've got this white circle partly in the black. Now that needs to overlap our iris as well, so we need to finish it off like that. Oh, like that, and then colour around it. Now if that's too tricky for you, it's absolutely perfectly acceptable. I'm going to make the top bits much darker to white it in with a pen after, and these Derwents do allow you to do that. If you're using Prismacolors, I think the blues are okay, but be a little careful. Test first, because sometimes I've messed that one up a bit. Sometimes when you put white over something, it can it can change colour. It doesn't just rub it out, it can go pink or something. So I've left this a little bit lighter down here. I find that works nicely for an eye. And what we do need to do, if we can, is to put a little bit of shadow top and bottom of the white of the eye, just to make it look like the eyelid is, and the eyelids are casting shadow. I am going to use the granite. What I find the oddest thing about this set of pencils, where is the granite? Is that it? Yeah. Is that the cloud grey is metallic. And I don't really understand why. None of the others are metallic. So we've just got like one metallic silver in the whole set. Right, so here is the granite. Call it the right name. Okay, so where I'm going with this is here, just under this eyelid here, under this one here, and then a little bit on the bottom. I know she hasn't got any eyelashes on the bottom. There we go, and it just gives her eyes a little bit of depth. So now when I look, it looks like her eyes are actually set into her head rather than flat on the front of her face. But it might be a bit too subtle. I mean, that's what I'm thinking it should look like. Whether it does or not, I don't know. And my last little move is to get the dusky pink and to put a little tiny bit of pink in the corner of the eyes, because quite often in the corners here, particularly on the inside, there's a little pink blob. I expect it's got a name. I'm sure it's not just called a pink blob. I'm struggling to get that because I've got too much grey there. But I've tried my best. Before I finish here, I am going to draw in that white bit that I messed up a little bit, just to show you really how it could look. This is a Jelly Roll 8. And it's here, so just extending the bit of white that's there already. Trying to make it look rounded. And I'm just going to do the same on this side, just that they're the same colour. There we go. So that is her face. And now, so I'm using my pencils, they're rolling under my pencil case, there we go. Right, so next we need to think about her hair. So it's come down a little, I think it's quite long, we'll have to come out a bit. Now what colour? Well, I like to, with hair, start with a sort of base colour, I guess the same as the face, and then add colours. But we do have leaves in her hair because we have these flowers growing. So we could colour her hair as if it's all green, as if it's all the leaves, or we could put the leaves intermingling. I actually think it's going to be easier to colour the leaves and the stems first and then see what's left and how it might look. So we're actually, change of plan, going to colour the leaves first. Now again, with these pencils there isn't a huge range of greens. I have bought extra greens because there wasn't a big range in 72. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which sounds like a lot, but 2 of them are really dark, 2 of them are very grey and similar, so it's a little bit difficult. I am going to use the mallard green for the leaves. It does sound a bit bright, it is a bit bright, but I've got a couple of reasons for that. I'll show you the swatches. So the mallard is the top one. See, these are all a bit dark and brownish and greyish, and these two, the grass green and the grass green 70%, they're the most normal greens that we have in this set. Yeah, so so I'm using the mallard green. It will go well with the colour that I planned for these florals anyway. So let's do that, and I think it might mean that her hair needs to either be brown or green. We'll see. Yes, the reason for the Lightfast colours being so limited is because they're Lightfast. I know that's I'm just blocking this in at the moment. I'm just going to put a base colour of the mallard green across all of the stems and flowers, not flowers, leaves. And then we'll see where it takes us. You see here with this one, I'm struggling to see what's the stem. I think that must be the stem there, because it's right in the centre. That's what I'm guessing, and then that leaf comes off it, so that looks like I guessed properly there. But I'm going to put a few other colours into these leaves. They do look a little bit too blue now I've put this down, and there is a way to get around that really easily. I'm going to start this end because down here it's such a tangle. I risk colouring in the wrong bit, so I will do this way. I do like these circular designs that Maria Trolle does with a little face and some sort of details in. I think they're really pretty. I think she does them in quite a few of her books. I've coloured a few of them before, and because the faces aren't huge, they're not quite as daunting as a page that was just a face, you know. And I think because her faces aren't terribly realistic, sometimes that makes it feel a little bit easier to colour. I think this bit is where does it begin? There. That's it. Yes, so it makes it feel a little bit easier because it isn't terribly realistic. So with the big eyes and the little mouth, it's very cute and very pretty. But it means that I feel a little bit less like I have to try and make it look like it's a real person. Do you know what I mean? But obviously you have to try a little bit because your brain's going to go, nope, that's just not a person at all otherwise. Now I'm wondering whether these stems, where does that now go? Is it there? Does it go all the way down here? Does it just stop there? I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes when I get a little dilemma like this, how do I colour it? What's that? Where, you know, I will go and have a look on Pinterest and find other people's versions of the picture and see how they've done it. Now I feel that because these stems are so small, I'm unlikely to find a picture that I can see that much detail in. So I don't think it will work for me in this time. But it is rather useful at times. I mean, I have coloured pages before where there's an object, an item, a shape, and I have no idea what it is. And I get that all the time when I'm looking at AI colouring book pictures because it just makes up stuff. But I don't have any of those. that irritates me. The fact that there are shapes that just don't make sense. It's just not fun, really. And you know, people have various views about AI as well. Yeah, I'm not get into that now, but I can see why people do it. But there are people that don't spend enough time getting it looking really good, and other people that do spend more time trying to make them look good. And I think, in a way, you could say it is a type of art, you know, but if you're using pictures that other people have drawn as your basis, then that doesn't feel fair, does it? So it's, yeah, it's just not my thing. I'm not going to be doing it. So, there we go. But I also realise that AI books are more affordable for people who can't afford regular books so much, but I would say buy one regular colouring book and finish it rather than buying 10 AI books. If you know, because most people take quite a long time to finish a colouring book, you know. There we go. Now I've got to make a decision, haven't I, about these stems once I finished this leaf. Does that go behind a row? I don't think so. No, that stem just seems to vanish into this plant, so that one's okay. This is a very long stem here. This one we could sort of draw it joining on there. Just gonna there. That will it just look like a no, because that line continues there. See that long line there, but it isn't that stem because that stem's there. And is that a continuation of that stem? Is that? I think I'm going to leave them. Right, now I want to put some darkened shade into the stems and leaves. So I'm going to pick one of those really dark colours. I think the pine is a good option. Here it is, pine. I don't know if you can see that. Sharpen it, and I'm going to just do a few touches here and there. I'll show you. So we're going to start over on this side. So at the base of the tulip, just spread it in, and then here where it touches that. Now here again at the base of the leaf, just bringing it up and sort of gently feeding it up like that. And the same with this one. At the base of here. I'm trying to decide whether I think I should put a bit of the tip as well, or whether to just do the base. I think I'll just do the base. There we go. Had a nice walk with my son this morning. We only went to the grocery store, but we went along the canal path and back along a different country path. And it's, I say a country path, we don't live in the countryside, but it just felt like one. It's quiet, it's woody, you know, woodland. It's just lovely. And had a nice chat. It made me very late. It's actually 1:30, and that's my first video of the day. So yeah, I feel like I'm very behind, but you know, there we go. Now what I'm going to do now is go back to the mallard green, and on the leaves only extend that dark area. I'm going to go over it a little bit and then just extend it up. So we're just darkening what we've done before. We're leaving the tip though. So hang on. Okay, so I thought I had a message on my phone, but I didn't, so I'm not going to worry about that. Yeah, so husband didn't leave for work till 9:30, and then son came down, so I had a coffee with him, and we were having a discussion about moving our room around a little bit so that husband's yeah, my other son doesn't want his brother next to him for some reason. He doesn't like him sitting next to him. So we were talking about how we could get around that, whether people could shift seats and things like that. And also husband needs to tidy up his desk area and all his stuff, and he hates doing that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm having a bit of a discussion about that as well. After the husband went to work, I talked to my son about it a bit more. So yeah, we were chattering about that, and then we went out, and it took him ages to get ready. I did do my meditation while I was waiting for him to go out, get ready. Okay, so now I want to make these leaves look less blue. So I've got a couple of options. I can either use the grass green, which is this, again very short, or I can use a yellow. I think I'm going to use the grass green, even though it's short, and then if it isn't quite enough I can use a yellowy colour. Oops, there we go. It's only these pencils. This is actually the grass green 70%, so it is the lightest pencil, the lightest of the grass greens. And I'm just going to put it over the top. And I want less at the tip where it sort of fades. There you go. It looks very much less blue, which is good. And we're going to work through them all and reduce that bluiness, make it look a little bit greener. I'd forgotten that mallard looked quite so blue when it's on the paper. Yeah, so go over the stems as well. There we go. So if you have put down a green in your any colouring page and you've decided that it looks a little bit too blue, this is the way to go around, get around it, to put either a very neutral green on top of it, a very yellowy green, or even a yellow will work. And if you're a little bit reluctant, a little bit scared, that's absolutely understandable. Just do it on some scrap paper first, put down that bluey green and play around. Do a big long swatch of it, a big long line of it, and then play around with putting different colours on top of it and see which one works the best when you're trying to cover it over. And it's worth doing with all colours if you're trying to mix them up, or you know, try different combinations together. Scrap paper is your friend. You can just scribble away, mess around, see what works, what doesn't work. I'm often a little bit reckless and I might just do it in the book without testing it first, like I did here, but I was pretty confident that it was going to work, having done it before. Not with these precise colours and precise pencils, but you know, I've experimented with colour a lot, so as I say, I've felt confident with it. Now I'm trying to decide whether to do these tulips bright red, and I think I really want to. And I'm wondering whether to use the red from the lip. I think it could work because it might help the lips to stand out a little bit from the page. So I'm going to use this Derwent red. I'm going to do, like I did with the leaves, just a coating of red to start with. It is pretty. Over all of them. Just helps me to find them, to think about what sort of shapes they are, where there might need to be some shadow, that sort of thing. I still think this wiggly line here looks like it's meant to be a stem, but it doesn't connect with the stem, so it actually goes up. I can't work out where it goes. I think it goes there to the side. Anyway, it's bothering me a bit. This paper is really nice in this book. It's very thick, but Maria's paper varies depending on where you buy her books, which versions they are, etc., which publisher. But it generally, hers and Hannah Carlson's paper is generally thicker than Johanna Basford's paper. I'm not sure whether that makes the books more expensive, because I know Johanna's always very aware of trying not to make her books too expensive, because she knows that people, well, it's not just about what people can afford, it's about popularity. Some people will buy her books anyway, even if they can't afford them, is what I'm trying to say. But there will be people who won't buy them because if they're, higher than a certain price point. So it's interesting because right, it's very messy. That's as I would expect at this point in the colouring. I'm going to find the merlot. Now the merlot is a really, really dark red, very, very dark. Sorry, I don't know where my voice has gone. Here we go. And we're going to use this to mark out some of the darker parts. I want to see a bit closer. There we go. I'm going to start over this side this time, and we're going to just tuck a little bit down here where this petal overlaps this one. Whoops, my pencil's broken. And here. Now, let's wipe that bit off. These are very soft pencils. And so you need to be careful when sharpening them, because they will break easily. My little pencil that I showed you, that was due to sharpening in the wrong sharpener. I went through half the pencil before I realised that I shouldn't have been using just a regular barrel Staedtler Norris sharpener, and so I switched over to using a hand crank, and that helped. But now that pencil's too small for a hand crank sharpener, I found that the Tagal, upside down Tagal, the Tagal is really good for soft pencils. Whoops, pencils rolling everywhere. So that's what I tend to use now for softer pencils. I do have hand crank sharpeners, I do use them at times, but not on video, a bit noisy. But I find if a pencil keeps breaking, the electric sharpener is really good, but also a hand crank is good too. The electric is fabulous if you've just bought a load of new pencils and they're unsharpened. Sometimes Prismacolors come unsharpened if you buy them open stock. I'm not sure why, but if you buy them like that, then the electric sharpener is your friend. Okay, I am going to now sharpen my Derwent red, and we're going to go back over these areas. So down here where we started, going over it with the red and just extending that area of red a little bit. I don't want it all to be really red, because I want some areas to be a bit lighter, maybe a little bit at the bottom of there. But we'll need to come in with another colour and finish them off. I do want to make sure that the tips do have red on them though. There we go. Because the next colour needs to have some red underneath in order to work. Now there is a very light pink which you could use for this purpose. What's it called? Oyster. but it's a little bit too pale. So I'm going to use something else. I think I know. I shall make up my mind in a minute. There. Did I do this one? Didn't do this one, did I? Too busy yapping, not concentrating hard enough. Something I haven't really thought about is the background for this page. Obviously it's sort of a circle design, and so that it's not a whole page that would have to be done for a background, just a bit behind what's going on in our picture. I think I'm going to leave that decision until the end. And talking of backgrounds, people often say, do you do your background at the beginning or the end? Well, it depends. I'm colouring a picture at the moment. I did the background first. Worlds of Wonder, but because the background was what I had an idea for, if that makes sense. I had looked at somebody else's version of the page. Just going to do a little bit more here. I don't think I really did enough, and I loved it, and so I took inspiration from what they'd done for their background. Mine isn't anything like theirs now, but theirs is watercolour, mine is Prismacolor, bit of a difference, and they have painted some shapes and things into their background which is beyond my capabilities, so I just put some splodges in it instead. They painted leaves and things in it, I just splodged it a bit, and we'll see if I can get it to come off. I think I'm feeling fairly confident about it at the moment. Right, so what I'm going to do now to finish these off, because I don't want the whole tulip to be intensely pink. I really liked what happened with the lips when we put the dusky purple on top of the scarlet red. So I'm going to do that again, dusky pink, sorry. So I'm going to use the dusky pink. Now I'm going to try and use it only in the areas that haven't had the second layer of red, so that we can really see that it's a different colour, if that makes sense. Because I want to really preserve the fact that we've got a darker bit, a lighter bit. There we go. Happy with that. And it doesn't look pink, it looks red. But we've just used, basically the pink has burnished that layer of red, and just, yeah, that's what it's done really. It's just burnished the red. Now you can't do this with all brands of pencil. It's a bit unique, I find, to soft pencils, particularly Derwents. I've been playing with this sort of effect. If I did this with polychromos, because if a pencil isn't so transparent, then when you do this, the top coat that you put down just is all you can see. Polychromos are reasonably transparent though. Depends how hard you press as well. But with the polychromos, the sort of layering, with Prismacolor, if you put a really thick layer on top, you can mask the layer underneath. So it's worth experimenting with what you're doing, playing around with different colours, seeing what works, sort of thing. But I just find this does work particularly well with these pencils. There we go. And I'm beginning to see lovely red tulips with some degree of separation of petals with a bit of shadow, which is exactly what I was aiming for. Now her face looks very pale. The sun keeps going in and out. My eyes are going funny. But I may decide to darken it up a little bit, or I may decide that I'm happy with it. But until the rest is done with her hair and her clothes and things like that, you can't even see her face, can you? Until the rest is done, I won't really know. But I am going to leave it there for today. Oh, let's tip the book so you can see it. There we go. Push that down a bit so you can see it. There we go. Or maybe up there. It's Bella. So that is what so far. So we haven't done loads, but we've done the face, which I think is probably the hardest bit, and that's done. So it's time to, we've got, you know, hair, which again can be a little bit tricky, but I actually really like colouring hair. And then we've got to sort of fashion her top, but I might decide later, you know, it depends on the colour I choose for the butterflies and things like that as to what colour I do that. So for today, that is me done. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and tomorrow there'll be another instalment. So please pop in and come and have a little look. And for now, happy colouring.